We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is our City of Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting for June 10th, 2019. At this time, we'll have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Campbell. Everyone, please stand.
People of God, you here, please. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your grace, your mercy that you bestowed upon us, God. As we go forth with this meeting, allow this meeting to be productive so that we can make the best decisions to continuously move this city forward. We pray this prayer and all other prayers in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Terrell Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Mary Lawson Brown, Commissioner Rufus Gorham, Commissioner Justin Campbell, Commissioner Tammy McCaskill, here. DPI Representative Denise Kemp, present, and Putnam County Commissioner Jeff Walls.
In the house.
All members are present and accounted for, and you have a quorum.
We want to make sure we welcome Ms. Kemp from Ms. D's Quilts here. Today, this is her first meeting. And so again, we want to welcome you to the agency.
Thank you.
As we move forward, and again, we thank you for your service and being the representative for Downtown Palatka, Inc. We also want to make sure we acknowledge the resignation of Mr. Deputy, who served us for a very long time, and thank him again for his service as the representative for the CRA for DPI. Moving the agenda forward, we will now have approval of our minutes from the April 8th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? Questions called, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item 2, we'll now move into public comment. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. If there's anyone here wishing to speak during public comment, please fill out the yellow card in the back of the room, and we will have you come forward at that time. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing no one, we'll close public comment and move on to our regular agenda. Item number 1, special events cost share program. Recommendation to the City Commission for revision of the program to revise application deadlines for from semi-annual to quarterly. Ms. Tucker.
Yes. So what staff is seeing is that with the events spread out throughout the year, that if we revise the application to accept applications on a quarterly basis versus a semi-annual, it'll enable us to help the majority of people. And at this point, I guess it would still be first come, first serve as far as the money that's available.
Right. And then the other thing was, the reason the program was set up the way it was initially was so that it would coincide with the Tourist Development Council's semi-annual meetings, and we decided that we needed a greater frequency to make sure we serve more people. Any questions from the agency or comments?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Borum, a second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion? Seeing questions called by Commissioner McCaskill, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 2, fiscal year 2018-19 special events cost share award. First cycle Blue Crab Festival, $2,500 to the Palatka Young Professionals, who was the sole applicant. Ms. Tucker.
Yep, so we received the application before the May 1st deadline. It was before the Blue Crab Festival actually occurred. It took us till a few days after the Blue Crab in order to get a committee together to meet on it. Committee met. Staff recommends that the award of $2,500 is given. It's well under the percentage limitation that they're supposed to meet with their budget.
And then 2,500 is the maximum.
The maximum award.
Maximum award for the Class A, yes.
Okay, motion approved.
This is a motion by Commissioner McCaskill, second by Commissioner Rawls. Is there any further discussion? Questions called by Commissioner Borum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. And again, we want to thank the Palatka Young Professionals for a great job at Blue Crab Festival as our first applicant for our cost share award. So again, we want to thank them as well. Moving forward, item number 3, other business, commercial rehab grant program reinstatement. discussion and direction. Ms. Tucker, you're on again. You should stand for the whole meeting.
So the commercial rehab grant, you remember, was a pilot program that initially called for 2 applicants. We had 2 in the past 2 years. We had Linda Kreider with the bed and breakfast, and we had Duck Realty with the building on Laurel. After that, the program lay dormant. We've had a lot of renewed interest from the businesses within the South Historic District. I've had at least 2 or 3 calls with people asking about it. So basically, we're just asking for direction from the board as to what you want us to do. If you want us to look at the documents, and I think there were a few tweaks that we noticed once we went through the process of the grant, and tighten that up a little bit and reinstate it. I mean, what's the pleasure of the board?
Just wanted to also note that they put a matrix together to show what the benefit of the grant was to the city, dollar for dollar, as to how much money the city put in versus what it actually, the positive effect that it had on the tax base. And we recouped $3 for every dollar we spent on this, which is really high for this type of a grant, far higher than any of the other programs.
We're still collecting that data, and we plan to bring it as a presentation on the different programs. But you find that when there's a stake involved on the recipient side, when it's closer to dollar for dollar, we do recoup more. It triggers.
Higher investment.
Yes.
I'd like to see if it's helping people, I think we need to stick with it. And sometimes we look like we're doing a handout, but it's a hand up. And I think it's been a hand up for us when we get more businesses in here.
Okay. Commissioner Ross.
On the Kirkland Street bed and breakfast, there was a $20,000 owner share to a $15,000 grant. Is that typical to be almost 1-to-1 versus your 6-to-1 on the other way?
The program calls for at least a 40% cost share. The Tina Duck with Duck Realty was originally offered more, and she volunteered to take less so that the opportunity could be presented to other people as well that year.
So is 15,000 going to be about the norm?
It has been a norm for the last, because we only had those 2 applicants.
Yeah, we only
We
have.
have-
This is being reinstated. Is it going to be reinstated as it was before?
Well, with some tweaks, like one of the tweaks of the program, we're going to be looking at have to make sure we got a durational period in there to make sure that the work's done in a timely manner. It's 25% match for $40,000, maximum of $40,000 on the program with a 25% cash match. And so, but one of the tweaks that we have is looking at durational periods, because like with the Duck Realty program, for example, it did go a little ways out, and so we want to make sure that we have some time, some deadlines put in place to make sure that we're getting so that we're getting the work done and getting the property back online a little faster.
If they're asked to match 25% of 40,000, that's only $10,000. Is that, I mean, is that a good way to go? You're basically giving up all the money and asking for very little from the property owners.
Well, the maximum grant amount is $40,000 with 25% cash match. So is the maximum amount we're going to give them $40,000, or that's the maximum
As
100
it's written
total?
right now, the maximum that we would give them would be $40,000.
We get up to 40.
And we're asking for a 10,000 match.
No,
That's
25%.
25%.
25% of whatever the amount is, correct?
Whatever the
Oh,
amount
they're
that they're
matching.
So if they
giving.
get 40,000, we're going to ask for them to do
Yes, it would be about
10,000.
It would be about 10. We'll rewrite the documents
So if
any
it's
way you want us
if they
to.
got 160,000 on a project,
Mm-hmm.
they could get up to 25% of that, which is $40,000. Because that's not what these other numbers look. I mean,
If their project is $100,000, they still can't get more than 40,000 through that program.
Well, then it wouldn't be 25% match. It has to be higher than that in order to get 40,000.
the language is confusing at
It
best.
is.
If you say 25% of 40,000, that's $10,000. If you say 25% of 160,000, it's
40,000.
40,000.
It has to be over 100,000 in order to get 40.
One of the, and again, I think one of the rewrites is going to be just based on where the numbers landed. When you look at the viability of projects. And the reason you ended up with $15,000 as kind of a cap number, basically where we were, it was a little more, but that was because we're trying to stretch the dollars out to make sure we touch enough people. And so I think when you start to write the numbers out, initially it was, when you look at TIFIP, you look at some of the other programs, and the numbers were 50 when you started out. But when you get into reality, the actual awards are more like 15, 20. And I think that puts it more in perspective as to how you can actually start to spread it out throughout the community to get more work. And so that may be kind of where the trend is. And
So
so
maybe if there could be some language that writes up an example, $80,000 project would be awarded a maximum of $20,000 at 25%. But, when you start weighing things out, $80,000 is not a lot of money to put towards a commercial project.
That's true.
And so, just saying that, but it'd be nice if it was a little more clear.
Yeah.
We can do that.
So that's the direction. You want
So,
clear
right.
language on the award amounts versus the maximum amount of the job.
How much money is available right now as we speak?
I don't know. There's nothing because the program's not funded anymore.
Yeah.
So,
How much could be?
We'll talk about that during budget.
Okay.
Right, it depends on what the allocation is for during the budget.
And we can bring this back during budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I'm reading the paragraph here on the document, it says that the South Historic Neighborhood Association hasn't asked for this to be reinstated.
No, actually, they're against anything being available except for the home improvement
Yeah.
program.
So just hit,
So are we just being proactive?
well, I think at the end of the day, you have to be.
We take what they
I agree.
They offer their opinion and advisement, and then y'all do with it what you will.
Okay. Thank you.
You're in charge of what we do with the money.
Thank you.
My comment historically has been, it's better to have all your tools in the toolbox and use the ones you need as opposed to not having one tool in there and finding yourself in a situation where you need more.
The programs like this one, the residential rehab, the ones that do more tend to trigger the reevaluation of the properties. Yeah.
Painting a home isn't going to affect the property value as far as like that 3%. But when you take the money and put it into a commercial account, a commercial project, that's where you get your bang for your buck.
So, any other questions?
Yeah, just comment on that. The South Historic District wanted to remove, but that wasn't the entire South Historic District. So,
It was the recommendation from SHNA.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
From the association, but not all the residents were petitioned.
Right.
Not
Exactly,
everybody
all
lives in the
residents in the neighborhood were petitioned
So
to block
it
that
was,
decision.
yes, it was.
So the 1/5 of the people that voted.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So they just wanted to make that.
So again, any further comments on the motion? Seeing no more discussion on the motion, we'll go ahead and call a question. All in favor, say aye.
What was the motion?
Yeah, nobody made a motion.
Yeah, we don't have a motion.
Oh, I missed it.
I'll make a motion.
Well, I missed it then. I'm being proactive.
Go ahead and do
Yeah,
it
'cause it was his-
with the clear language.
I'll make a motion
With the language.
to approve this with the clarification of the language, and move this forward.
Second.
Motion to approve with direction for additional clarification.
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Borum. All right, once again, any other more questions called? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. See, I heard what y'all were thinking. Moving on to item number 4, which is procurement of electronic sign for the Central Business District. This is an item that I put on the agenda just for discussion at this point. One of the things that we talked about during the last budget year and something that's been requested a few times has been the use of electronic signs as a way to inform those passing by on Reed Street as to what opportunities exist in our Central Business District, and also to inform them of what events and other things are coming up within the city. We talked this over even back when Mr. Crow was here about possible locations. One of the locations that we identified was across from the River Center as a place where we could actually do this. There's an additional location where we actually have a signage as well, which is on 3rd Street, where there is additional signage on 3rd Street, and both of those opportunities exist for us to be able to do this. We looked at the electronic signs and some of the numbers that came back when we initially thought on this were about $35,000. You can get a two-sided electronic sign, very similar to what you see with the school district and the chamber, for about $13,500 for a sign that's roughly a 4x8 or either a 3x6 sign, which is full color, programmable, will do everything that we need to do. And by the time we do the marquee and dress it up, we're going to be at a certain number. And I think it puts us in a position where we're able to capture the attention of folks throughout. And it's just something for discussion for us to talk about from the district if we want to consider that in this upcoming budget year.
1920, not current.
I take that back. We were actually talking about using it because we had, what was the amount? We had money budgeted for this already.
Right.
And so we had money budgeted so we could actually purchase the sign this year. It was roughly $30,000, I want to say.
Right, so the property acquisition hasn't gone through at this point, and so there's a couple of different options that we can use. If we're not going to use budget for one, we can reallocate it.
So we can actually, the purpose of it was to make sure, to make sure that we have funds available this year that we could use. And we really need to use those funds if we can, to make sure that we're moving forward with certain projects. And there's an opportunity for us to do that.
CRA, you have to at least have the money allocated to something, and it can only stay for, 3 years?
3 years.
A maximum of 3 years?
It was, but the new bill passed that changes that.
And
But
it
I
has
don't
to be
think it'll
allocated.
change for this year.
So anyways, we have.
So it's important that we spend the
So
money.
it's already budgeted.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's about it.
When you said property allocation is not happening, where is the property?
That is beside the hotel.
The 2 lots. It's 2 out parcels beside the hotel that.
That's something.
That's what you're doing across from the River Center?
Those are the ones that we voted to take back from the hotel owner.
So that's where you'd be looking to put a sign looking
No, we had money put in the budget. We actually allocated money to take those properties back. It hasn't happened to this point. Council is in the process of moving forward with that. We anticipate that it probably will not be complete prior to the end of this fiscal year. So that money is still there as well.
Where do you anticipate the sign physically being put?
Right across from the River Center, right next to the River Center on the side. There's locations by the River Center, and there's also that 3rd Street. Those are the 2 proposed spots that we've been talking about thus far.
There's already a brick sign on the 3rd, there next to Ames.
So personally speaking, I think 3rd would be better
Because you don't.
you get more
before you
time to
bridge.
get in town before you blow by it.
I was gonna say too, we own the train station property.
Well, that's right there next to the chamber sign.
It'd be good to have two different locations.
Well, and across the street.
As you
from there
enter
where the police-
downtown, there's a sign that says entering downtown. There's a little marquee
Yeah.
right there.
Downtown with a mirror.
And so
That's probably the best.
it's a better location because you're not pushing as far for the bridge.
How would you program your smart card? Physically plug a thumb drive into it?
You can physically program it, and so we can do it through our, we can actually do it and maintain it through cultural resources, and just deal with it from that standpoint. That's one of the things we're looking at. So we've got some folks with some IT experience.
Good.
So,
Need a motion to move forward.
yeah, if we can, get a motion on the floor in a second. Can we, in your motion, if you don't mind, can you, there's a recommendation for the $35,000. Can you include that as the, as maybe the max dollar amount so that we can have some leniency in how we move forward and bring it back to you?
Sure.
So there's a motion on the floor to approve the electronic sign up to $35,000. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, questions called by Commissioner Board. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on, fiscal year budget, 1920 budget preparation, trim calendar budget preparation. Ms. Becker.
Good evening. Good evening. So we are in full swing of the 1920 budget prep. Ms. Tucker and Mr. Griffith have made it around to the representatives and the associations for each of the districts to get their recommendations. I've started to plug some of those numbers in, looking at that. If there is anything that you wish to see or any recommendations that you want to be included, anything that you want to be discussed at the budget workshop, we have a calendar or a trim calendar set to go on this agenda on Thursday. So we'll know for sure if that's going to be our workshop day. Tentatively, it's July 18th at 2 p.m. So if there's anything that you have, please let me know, email me, call me, and then we will work through it through the budget workshop. That's obviously, it doesn't have to, our budget is not going to be approved for first reading until September. So in between them, we have a little bit of time, but we like to have it pretty much wrapped up in July. So if you think of anything, just let me know.
What was the percentage increase?
So right now, I'm still waiting on the numbers for the trim, or for the TIF. We received our figures for the citywide total, but I'm still waiting on the breakout. So that was June 1st that we received the citywide total, and then we're waiting on the breakout for each of the districts. And typically I get that, well, last year I got it around June 28th.
So,
Yeah.
you know what the city's percentage was?
Yes, it's a roughly a 4.6.
So is there any reason why it would be the same for the TIF?
Depending on if some of the properties went off the roll, on the roll in the different districts. Right now, or this current year, let's see, downtown. So when we were talking about some of the projects for like the commercial rehab grant, the downtown, south, and north, obviously, we can't even allocate some of those dollar amounts that would kind of been thrown in the air with some of those grants, because north has only brought in 39,000, you know, traditionally. So I wouldn't see why they won't see an increased percentage. Another thing is a portion of their monies do come from the county. So if the county increases or decreases their millage rate, it will affect these figures. So that's another thing that we have to kind of be watching. And so that's it for number 5, or unless you have any questions.
So I think he'll know if the county's going to decrease or increase the millage rate more than the rest of us.
I can promise you there's not a lot of room to increase. I can also promise you that decreasing is not looking really good.
Yes, I have a few contacts that I'll be in touch with. So,
Any other comments, questions?
you're welcome.
Let's move right into your, I
Okay.
guess that moves you right into your tip.
Yes. So
Into
there's.
your TIF financial.
Yes, sir. So there's nothing really out of the ordinary, out of the norm for this report. We typically bring it at the end of a quarter, but because we won't be meeting since it's the summer and things kind of get a little crazy, the next time we meet will be a workshop, so we won't have time for a financial report. So this is as of May. Like again, there's nothing out of the ordinary. Your revenues are still the same because once we book them in December, January-ish, they don't change, and that's all that comes in. If you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Becker. Moving forward with our reports, I'm going to move SBDC up. Yes, ma'am.
There's a young lady here, I don't think she knew that she could make comments back, and I think she had a question about.
She was one of the inquiries on the grant application that we spoke.
I'll bring her up now. I'll bring her up now.
She might need to ask.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. This isn't the normal quarterly report. Betsy and I were in discussions in email if there was anything that you guys needed to be updated on. So I sent forward the information from our stakeholders meeting for the Food Innovation Center that Congressman Yoho's office had put together on April 30th. There was EDA, USDA, FDACS, University of Florida, business owners, the SBDC, IFAS, Enterprise Florida. So all the big players that potentially have funding were at the table. So it was about 2 hours long, and Yoho's office put this together, which was very nice. Saved me a lot of time. I just threw Hannah all the information, and they popped this out, which was great. But if you have any questions, or we're basically just looking for the money. We've got the entity to run the place. We've got businesses ready to go into it. It's just a matter of finding the funding for it.
And describe what it is that we're finding.
So the First Coast Fresh Food Innovation Center is going to be located potentially at the State Farmers Market over in East Palatka. It's an underutilized building where there's a canopy, and we plan to close that in and put 2 commercial kitchens, a USDA certified for meats, FDA certified for fruits and vegetables. And then we also plan to have advanced manufacturing bottling lines, 2 of them. So you can do everything from water all the way up to peanut butter and the viscous materials.
On this side of the room.
It's black.
East
Nah,
Palatka.
we did that.
There is a private entity potentially looking at doing something with it if we can't seem to come up with the funding, of some sort.
And what this will also allow, if there's a small producer or somebody has if they want to make a jelly and they think they have a knockout recipe, they can go in there and utilize this facility on a very short-term basis for a day, a week, a month, and bottle and can or whatever, and not have to be bound to large production.
The purpose behind this is not an incubator per se. I know, Ms. Mary, you're big on incubators. This is not an incubator. This is to help businesses that are at that stage where their manufacturer or their bottling people that they're using is tying them back and withholding their ability to grow and advance. It's to get those businesses emerging so that at some point they're opening their own kitchen or their own bottling facility and going that and creating jobs and things of that nature.
Incubator?
Yeah, it's a little bit of
Yeah, but when you say incubator, the paperwork is a lot longer.
But can we come up with a short term?
You got it. It's innovation center. It's short.
It's an innovation center.
Kind of a development center.
A lot shorter for this.
Yes, when you say incubator, the paperwork tends to just, when it comes to the EDA grants and things of that nature. We are going to submit for appropriations again next year. We did this year and it didn't make it out of the House, but Senator Perry and Bobby Painter, we're getting our ducks aligned and putting stuff together to get it in early for the next fiscal year.
Can you also talk about the advantage to the farmers, their leftovers?
Part of that, we originally had submitted for a disaster grant under EDA for sustainability and resiliency. So if farmers go through a hurricane or major rain and their product, their commodity they usually sell as is, you can still take that commodity, even though it may have been damaged a little bit, add value to it, meaning process it in some way, shape, or form,
Right.
so that they can still capitalize on the product that they put to the ground.
So
on
they
that
do
seed that
value
they put to the
added.
ground.
They use value added.
Will be the French fry capital for the.
We're trying
already
to,
doing cater to.
yes.
That's been a work in progress for a while.
Since 2014, yep. So, been working on it, little by little, chisel by chisel. Yep, and in partnership with IFAS as well. David Dinkins has been a large partner in this. It's in the SEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy for our region, the 7-county region out of the Northeast Florida area. So it's identified as one of the 12 projects needed. We got to put into the next SEDS as well, so it's not disappearing. But yeah, it's there. So if you hear of anything or know of any money that's being given away, let me know.
Any questions? Also, SBDC's quarterly report comes out after this meeting, and she'll give us an update on that at our next meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll distribute it when we receive
We'll distribute it before then, but we'll have it for presentation at the next meeting. Any questions? And so, seeing that, again, thank you for your report. I'm going to go ahead. I've got Ms. Gilliard and Ms. Merritt's here. I think you were here concerning the commercial rehab grant program, which we've seen, which you've already sent to staff to get approved. They have the property that's adjacent to the Duck Realty property, so they're here for those purposes. You ladies have anything you want to add?
Well, we're just ready to get going, anticipating starting our business back up, and I know you guys are in the process of bringing that grant back, so we're just excited to be a part of it, bringing the community up.
Okay, just for the record, just give her your name and address after the meeting, so we'll have that as well. Anything else? We've got North Tip. I'll do combined programs next.
Okay. I see both of them.
North Tip, South No one. Revitalize is here.
Revitalize is on the
Do you
agenda.
have anything for us, Ms. Correa?
Just a quick mention. Robbie Correa, 118 Dodge, Revitalize Historic Palatka. We just started Box City Camp 2019. We have 30 campers this year. Basically, the concept comes from Columbus, Georgia, and Box City is the construction of their own version of downtown Palatka. So we did a walking tour with Bob Taylor this morning, and they construct their version, some of the historic structures, but also their futuristic version of downtown through this whole process over the course of the week out of boxes and other recyclable materials and paint. And Friday at 5:30 will be kind of a big reveal. Everybody's invited, and there'll be some food for people to see and their families to see what the kids have done all week. And it's 6 years old and older to attend the camp. And we co-sponsored it, Revitalize Historic Palatka, with First Presbyterian Church, who is letting them use the space. We're having a new business ribbon cutting event tomorrow too. We moved them up to 6 to see if we get more people in attendance. It's going to be the new 11 Mall there, that's in the McKinnon's building, and then it will be Urban Farmhouse, and then El Chico Gas on Reed Street. So everybody's welcome to attend.
Free gas.
Yeah. And then we started planning for the Craft Beer Festival with the Palatka Young Professionals in October. It'll be October 19th. So we're in the planning stages of having the second annual Palatka Craft Beer Festival. That's it.
Thank you again for the report. Combined TIF project report, Ms. Tucker.
Okay. Alrighty. So I gave you a sheet that lists the home improvement programs and where we are with those. There is enough in the budget for one more project in both the central and the south districts. The north, we'll have to wait for the next fiscal year to do the next project. I'll go ahead and get the estimates and be ready to roll in October, but there's not enough money there to do another one. We did, I think, 2 or 3 in the north. We've caught up in the north, basically. We're at a point where people haven't been waiting 5 years anymore there.
And that's just their additional staff oversights.
Right. So for the combined projects, the clock tower is, we have the geotesting done. It's stable there. They're fixing the forms. As soon as that's poured, then we'll get it right back set up. It's underway. I promise it's coming back. It looks good.
What was wrong with the forms?
They were slightly off center of where they were supposed to be in order to have it at the right dimension adjacent to the road. It was just a miscommunication between the plans and the contractor that poured the concrete. Yeah, but they're fixing it. The potable project in the South Historic is well underway. I don't see any problem with it meeting its deadline and finishing up towards the end of the month. The commercial rehab on Laurel Street that we've talked about closed out. The building looks great. Every time I go that way, it really makes a huge difference pulling into the South Historic off of 7th onto Laurel.
Once we do the other piece.
Yeah. And the recruitment grant that we have at 120 South 7th, which is the Coca-Cola building, Palatka Brewery, Azalea Brewery. Azalea Brewery. It's at a point where she's been reimbursed except for 10%. We're just waiting for her certificate of occupancy. As soon as they finish off the things they need to do, she's met her match requirement, and so we've paid 90% of the grant out. We'll do a final closeout. Yes, sir.
No, I'm just waiting. When you get done.
We'll do a final closeout once she has that certificate of occupancy in place, which is a requirement of the grant. Yes.
These look great. I think the last time I asked for something along the lines like the funds that's available and the percentage of the money that's used. I think since y'all know the numbers, I mean, you're working with the numbers as these projects are completed. I think that'll kind of help too. I mean, you already know the information already, so
you want to know how much is left in the TIF budget?
Yeah, basically, and tracking it through that process.
We can do that. There are some fees and things that are that are required that aren't on that sheet, but it won't be a problem to put that column in.
Yeah, just a guess. I mean, it could be plus or minus whatever.
Year to date.
Yes.
I just want to say that it's been really fun watching Ms. Conover and her partners develop the Azalea City Brewing on Facebook. They have the Azalea City Brewing is on Facebook, and it's been a lot of fun watching her learn the business.
You haven't been testing the product, have you?
No, I have not. I have not. I've had one little test at the mayor's reception. That's
It was
it.
pretty good.
A little test.
It was
I
pretty
know,
good
I'm just a small, not a beer person.
too. Man, it was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Ms. Tucker? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and finish out with comments from the agency. Commissioner Rawls.
So you're going to set the budget. The next time we meet will be beyond the budget, correct?
The next time we meet will be for the
We'll be in
budget
October.
workshop in July.
It'll be
We'll do
July.
workshops. July 14th. We'll be around
It will
14th.
be an
We have
official.
workshop too. Yeah.
You'll be there.
Yeah. So you'll be included. Unlike we'll do 20% of the workshops that you do on the county. But you'll come in for a budget workshop. Typically, we can hit it. It's typically a one-time hit for here for the CRA. If there are additional questions, then we just bring it back for approval at the end. And that's how we do it. You also during that time period, you can set up a meeting with this. You can set up a meeting with Ms. Becker and kind of go over anything that you want to see in the budget as well.
Where are we at with are we finishing up over here on
3rd Street,
no, Olive, Madison?
Oh, Madison with the bricks.
Yeah.
It's done. They're just doing, right away was cleaned up and it's done.
It's all done, it looked like it was, okay. And then 9th Street is, I saw them putting in some control structures.
That's gonna be another 20 years. No, they're actually paved one block so far.
I believe so, that being an FDOT project.
That's a
I
DOT
don't
project.
have
And then they
as
pushed back, they pushed down
information.
another block and a half.
Yeah.
So,
What happens to you got a lot of damage that's occurring to other roads around that as a direct result of the rerouting, so. Is that on anybody's radar or is that next year's
We've
budget?
been asking the county for some funding to help us.
I'm sorry, not laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bohr,
No comment.
Commissioner McCaskill. Commissioner McCaskill, this is the time you ask for money. Commissioner McCaskill, Mr.
I have distributed the Auditor General's 18-month follow-up report, which was also distributed to the CRA members. Ms. Kemp, this is probably your first time seeing it, and I also included with that is the response letter that we gave to the state on it. So far, we are good to go on most of this. Some of this is just simply policies in place. Here. There you go. So most of this is, well, there were two that they were not 100% satisfied with, so the city attorney is working on number five. He's working on that because we're not finished, trying to get that one taken care of and handled. And then, oh, I'm sorry, that was on number 1. That was on number 1. On finding number 5, that's coming to the city commission so that they can take action on it.
So there's only one that pertains to CRA.
There's only one that pertains to CRA.
There's one that pertains to CRA, and it relates to the hotel.
Right, hotel.
Number 5?
With the sale,
Seeking repayment.
Or Health Club?
For one of the grants.
why is it coming to the commission for that if that was something this yard?
Well, the policy has to be adopted by the city commission.
Right, the policy does. But,
There's really,
There's no CRA action required.
that's an audit finding.
This was the Elks Club, correct?
No, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It's a repayment.
Getting it.
All right. Ms. Kemp. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor. Mr. Campbell.
Nothing, sir.
Hey, we stand adjourned.
All right, Jeff.